Ladies, welcome to this episode of the She Is Extraordinary podcast. I am here with a woman that I met. Oh my goodness, is it 3.5 years ago almost? Ah,
I know, crazy.
yeah, Lori Patch. She is a broker in Washington State. I always forget the name of your brokerage. So you say it's
The Thomas Group Northwest Real Estate. It's after my husband and my father-in-law. They're Thomas. So that's where that comes from.
That's great. That's great. Lori is someone that I met in a Facebook group that I began, and my sister joined me eventually. It was Girls Guide to Outrageous Real Estate Success. And Lori, you had to have been one of the first 100 that joined the group. And you jumped on board with us for group coaching. And so I just wanted to bring you on to my podcast because I believe you're an extraordinary woman and you've done extraordinary things. So why don't you tell our listeners just kind of a quick background story on what brought you to real estate?
Okay. Yeah. So what brought me to real estate?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So I actually married into it. My husband and his dad, my father-in-law got into real estate in the 70s. And then of course my husband kind of joined him in the business. They actually built houses for a while. And then I married into it. So I was always on the back end of it, kind of learned real estate by osmosis, sitting around the dinner table. So, I was a stay-at-home mom for, 20 some years. And when my kids got to be teenagers, I decided to get my real estate license at that time. And then by then, Tom and I had started our own company, the Thomas Group Northwest Real Estate, and just a small boutique brokerage in Washington. And so I just kind of started that way. And eventually I became the designated broker. And so that's where we are now.
I think I ever asked you this, or if I did, I forget, but I'm curious, how did you get to be the designated broker when it was his business, right? He just wanted to.
Yeah. Well, he always was in the new construction end of it. And so he worked for builders a lot. And so, but eventually he had some health issues that he had to step down and go on disability. So I just took over from there.
Gotcha. So what was that like? Were you excited about that, or what were you feeling?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've always done the back end a lot. I mean, I've been an integral part of doing everything anyway, so it wasn't too huge of a leap. But I had a different part of the business than he did because I did resale. And so there was a lot more, his leads came in the door. He sat in a model home and the leads came in the door. So that was always the biggest challenge for me was how do you get leads? How do you expand your business and that kind of thing? And then also the management part of it, there was a lot to learn, and he'd had years and years of experience and a lot of, training and classes and all that kind of thing. And since, I kind of had to work a little harder at that part of it.
Okay. So how many people did you have in your, agents working with you?
At one point we had 19 agents. So yeah, before the big crash.
That's pretty impressive. So what year, let's go back. What year did you become the designated broker? And was that when you had these 19 agents?
Yeah, 2004. Actually, when was that? Yeah, 2004. And then about 2007 is, when people started petering out. And actually now we're much smaller still. I just have a small team now. And decided to keep it that way because there was a lot that I learned by having all of those brokers, and not quite sure that's the direction I wanted to go with it. I prefer to keep it smaller and more intimate and be a little more selective with who we bring on now. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And selective not only with the agents that are working with you, but you zeroed in on an ideal client, right?
I did. Yes, thanks to your help.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So before the twins, me and Jan, you came to us and you said you were about ready to quit. So really take us to that place.
Yeah, I was so burned out. Like I said, my husband had a lot of experience and was helping me with some training and things. But again, the lead gen was the part that was burning me out and trying to figure out, how do you get in front of people? Because I'm more of an introverted. I'm not a joiner. I don't like networking. I hate all that stuff. And so how do I meet people, And so when you guys talked about brand you, that was the first light bulb. because at that time I was so burned out going here and there and picking, there's always some shiny new thing that's going to make you successful, right? And so, I was tired and I was ready to just give up, because I'm like, I'm just going to go to work someplace because it's just too hard, and I can't figure out that secret, and I'd look around to these other agents in my market, and we had a lot of very successful agents on my market, and looking at what they're doing and comparing myself to them, and I'm just like, I can't do that. That's not who I am. I'm not comfortable doing that. I didn't like feeling salesy. And so we learned all about that. And, but just tapping into brand new. And I had to laugh because it was so hard for me that at the beginning, because one of the questions, you kind of went into, like who we are and what we like to do and who we like to hang out with, basically. And I'm like, I don't know. I hang out with my family. I'm very family oriented and hang out with my kids. I don't know. But one thing I did like was going to lunch. That was my thing. I love going out to eat. And I jokingly said that. And then lo and behold, that whole thing just grew into this phenomenal lead generation system. That's really not a lead generation system.
Yeah, let's pause for a second. So you were about ready to quit. You joined our group coaching, and as you were going through the process and realizing that you don't have to be like everybody else, and in fact, we said, do not compare. Don't look around. Blinders, right? But I love that you said, I realized I liked lunch, and then you ran with it. So tell the ladies listening what you did, because it was incredible. It still is amazing.
I know. And it blows me away to this day. Because it has nothing to do with real estate. It has absolutely nothing to do with real estate. And it just feels right to me. So what I did initially was to create a women's Facebook group. And I kind of got that inspiration from you with the group that you ladies had created, and I saw how supportive it was, and how kind everyone was, and just the camaraderie that was there. So I just kind of put my own spin on it, and I just created a local ladies group. I called it the Maple Valley Ladies Society. And all I did was I didn't try to overthink it. I just did it. And so I just put it on one of the other community pages. Hey, who wants to go to lunch? I want to start this group. Who wants to go to lunch? And that was it. 12 ladies showed up there, and now I've got over 2,000 ladies. I think I'm over 2,200 ladies in there now. And it's just turned into this amazing, fantastic group in our community that these women are connecting, and they're, finding friends. It's a great place when people are moving into town. I have clients that are moving into town. I can send them to this group. So now they feel like they're a part of the community. They can connect with ladies that have similar interests. And, we go to lunch and we go to dinner and we play bunco and we do all kinds of fun things. And it has absolutely nothing to do with real estate, but it's allowing me to get to meet people and to really connect genuinely with people that I enjoy being with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was ingenious, because as you said, you feel good about it. You're meeting tons of ladies. So this is not just for business women. This is like, hey, if you live in this area, come join us.
Right. Yep.
Okay. So tell us what the lunch looks like. Like, how do they get an invitation just by being involved in the Facebook group, or is there something outside of that?
It's very simple. And that's the thing too. I wanted to keep it simple because I'm like, I don't want to be an event planner,
Right.
But so the idea was just coming from a place of service and just coming to it with, I'm creating this group where it's safe for ladies to connect with one another. There were other women's groups, in our community, but, they just had a whole other vibe to them, and it wasn't quite what I wanted to do. And so I want this to be a very accepting place and a very comfortable place for ladies to be, and just to have fun, a place for us to just have fun. That's the other thing. I'm in my 50s, and it's like all the kids are gone. It's like, how do you meet people? That was my big thing, It's like, I'm not at soccer games anymore. I'm not doing all those things. How in the world do you get to know people? And that's kind of how I set it out there too. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just putting this out there. I just want to get to know people. And so it was very well received. And these ladies, so I just, I just posted a Facebook event, and so all I'm in charge of was one lunch a month, one dinner a month. So the first and third Tuesdays, that's it. And then anybody can post any kind of event. So if somebody wants to go hiking, if they want to go do a craft, if they want to go take the kids to the park. So just anything could be anything, and anybody can post an event. But I was just, trying to instigate it and trying to get things going, and it's just taken off from there. So.
Yeah. And so let me just ask a silly practical question, because as I'm thinking about it, you're saying, okay, let's meet at Joe's for lunch. So did you know how many were coming? Like you counted on them? I'm just thinking practically. So you count on them to say, okay, hey, Joe's, we're coming tomorrow, about 12 of us. And that's it? And they do
That's
separate.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody pays their own way. There's no cost involved. It's just, everybody pays their own way. And I've discovered over the course of doing it that about half the people that say they're coming actually come. So I've kind of adjusted that way, but it's been great because it just allows you to sit down and visit with people, one-on-one or with a few people. And, as the group has gotten bigger and bigger, I had to start putting a limit on the number of people that could come, and I'm encouraging other ladies to start a lunch, invite people to lunch and that kind of thing, so that everybody has a chance to to meet. But
yeah, that is so neat, because you're the head of it. I'm sure that at each of these events, people are like, where's Lori? I want to meet Lori.
that was the weirdest thing to me. It's like I became this local celebrity, and you guys had talked about doing video, and I was so terrified of doing video. The first time we did a video, I had to have my little grandson in my lap.
Yes.
I could, because I was so nervous about it. I had to practice my script about 20 times. And then, so that I've gotten much more comfortable with that now, but there is magic in doing that, because it's like people, can't tell you how many times people will run up to me and just, hi, Lori, I'm just, I feel like I know you already. And that's where the magic is with Facebook and these groups and doing video. It's like people already feel like they know you and they trust you, and I'm who I am, and they know what you look like, they know what you sound like, and the way you interact with people.
Yeah, and they know you because they see it's the next best thing to being there.
Yeah.
So you were about ready to quit. You joined group coaching kind of out of desperation. You started to do the right. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah. I didn't even know how I was going to pay for it. I was, I wasn't sure how I was going to pay for it, but I just knew I had to do something. And I had gotten so much out of your group already, just with the things you had done in the group. And I participated in some of those activity or those exercises and, what do you call them? The little classes and things. Yeah. So I just knew I felt comfortable. I knew I needed something, and I trusted that you had, some answers for me. And so I just kind of took a leap of faith and just did it. So.
And see, I love that. And I just want to say I still am in touch with a bunch of ladies from the Girls Guide group, because now, I pivoted. I work with Christian women with all different kinds of businesses, including real estate. But, last week I spoke with a woman who joined early on in the Girls Guide, like you. Like, I feel like I've known her. She was actually crying on the phone because she's afraid to invest in herself. But now she's getting to the point where she said, Judy, I had a full-time job and real estate's not working, and I just got furloughed, and I don't know what I'm going to, she was crying, and I felt really bad. And I said, well, is it time to invest? Do you realize that for the last 3 years, things haven't worked? And, she didn't, she's afraid. She operates from fear. And so I just feel badly. So I want you to speak to her. Imagine if she was in front of you and you're like, okay, so you have a choice. Continue. Yeah. What would you tell her?
Yeah, I think it is that there's so many different things, and there's always somebody coming at you that's saying they have the answers. But for me, I had the proof that you guys had the answers, that because I'd already participated in some of those things. But it is an investment, and I look at it like, people pay thousands and thousands of dollars to go to college, so that they can have the money later on, that they can make a living later on. And it will work if you do, follow through with it and put into practice the things that you're teaching. It's going to work. It just is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
And that's been coming back. I can't even tell you how many times more. I think I sent you what I did that last year in 2020 compared to 2019. And it's just exponential. I did 2.5 times my business last year, and I may double again this year. So I'm bringing on other agents and I'm able to share what I've learned with them, and I see it working with them. And so, I mean, that's proof. So
That's Lori, congratulations. Because you know what? I teach my way of doing things, but if you don't implement it, if you don't really jump in, and that's what I loved about you, you totally jumped in. So let's get to that. Okay, so now you're doing these lunches, you're starting to create your own brand, not worrying about what other people are doing. So what happened? Like, I feel like you had a light bulb moment, or as things started coming together, the business really took off. Can you take us back to that time?
yeah, it's just, I mean, it was a lot of things. I mean, the brand you was one thing, and not comparing myself to others, and really getting comfortable with myself. For me, that was personally life-changing, just getting comfortable in my own skin and accepting I do things the way I do it. And then now I see the impact that it's had on all these other women. It's just been, it's like inspiration. It was inspiration. It wasn't me, because I had no idea it would turn into what it did. And so learning to follow my gut was a huge thing. That was another decision I made, is just not hanging on to that fear of trying something, but number one, trusting you and what you're telling me that it's going to work, and then doing it, whether I was afraid or not, and then getting more comfortable with that, and then taking the next step. And but just learning to follow my gut and not overthink things. The imperfect action concept that you taught was life-changing as well, because I'm a perfectionist, and I before I would have sat down and had to have all my colors done and my fonts and my I get wrapped around the axle on all this stuff. My husband used to drive him nuts, because I stay up till all the hours of the morning figuring out, and I was always getting ready to get ready, so now it's like, I'm just going to do it, just jump in and then I'll figure it out, which is a little scary, but it's also liberating, to just let it go and let's see what happens, and just follow that feeling that, do this. When you get an idea, do it, and just do it. Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. You don't have to have it all figured out. You're just doing it. Now, I was going to mention, so what does your husband say about this new Lori that he sees in front of him?
He's like, he'll say sometimes to me, I don't even know who you are, because it's like I always rode on his coattails, and now, especially over this last year, he's really seen me come into my own, and he's very proud. He's very supportive, and it's been interesting because now I'm kind of sharing with him the way I'm doing things that are totally different than the way he did them, and not that his way was wrong or my way was right. It's just we do it differently. And we relate to people differently, and we do business differently, and they both work, but he is totally amazed by what I've been able to accomplish, and he's been very supportive of that.
That's great. And right before we got on the recording, you said you moved in November. So let's talk about that, because family is very, very important to you. And you love the water. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
About that.
Yeah, so we decided, and this kind of came about just some of his health issues, but we decided to downsize and got into a Rambler, and just it's a quieter pace, slower pace. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do it with my business, but that's working. I've got a team back in Maple Valley where I moved from, and so I'm kind of got my feet in both places right now and kind of making that transition, but it's working, and everything I learned to do up there, I was worried about that. Am I going to give up what I did there? But I'm not. I'm still involved there, I'm also starting it down here to do the same thing. So it's like it's interesting to see that what I did there it'll also work here, no matter where I'm at.
Yeah. So how far away is it?
About 2.5 hours.
Wow. Okay. And so are you going to do one of those women's groups where you are now?
We have the Ocean Shores Ladies Society. Just went to dinner last night.
Wow. So how long has that been? Just a couple of months then?
Yeah, just a couple of months. I'm kind of just getting it started. And of course, COVID kind of puts a damper on our style, but because we can't get together in person as much as we were before, because we were having a ball. I got to tell you what, I hadn't had this much fun since junior high. It has been so fun, But, with not being able to get together in person, I've had to do a little bit of, a little differently. It's not quite as good as being able to get in person, but hopefully we'll get there at some point. But now we can get together in small groups, so we're doing that. And it's also interesting too, because it's an older set here. It's more of a retirement community or, vacation homes and that kind of thing. So I kind of have to adapt a little bit with that.
That's awesome. Let's talk about that, because I know some of the ladies that are listening, of course, are real estate agents or brokers. And I hear all the time, I'm moving to a new area. Like, I feel like I'm starting over. And in fact, if you weren't a broker, you may, except that we can keep feeding referrals back and forth to the old place. But what would you tell a woman that's listening who recently moved or is starting over again? What's the quickest way to get your next client in a new place?
Connecting with people. I mean, that was the magic, and that's the magic of that group, because it's not, like I said, it's not, the groups that I created have nothing to do with real estate. I also created a general, it's called Living in Maple Valley group too, for the whole community. But so it has nothing, it doesn't have to do, it's all about making the connections with people. And that's really where the magic of these groups is that it just allows me to get in front of people in a genuine way. And then the relationships happen naturally. You connect with people that you enjoy being with, and you get into conversations, and then it always comes around to what do you do, or what you're up to. So the conversations are very natural. I never feel like I'm having to sell myself. It's just allowing myself to get to know other people, and just trying to meet as many new people as possible. And so that's why going to coffee or going to lunch or going for a walk and just trying to constantly be meeting new people, that's where that comes from, and where it helps my business, because it allows people to get to know me, and then they're comfortable with me. So I've got them, the other benefit is that, when something pops up on Facebook, I got my very first listing 2 weeks before, or 2 weeks after I moved here, because some of the ladies that were in my Maple Valley Ladies Society they also had property down here. And so somebody had posted on there, they wanted to, who's a good real estate agent. And I had 2 ladies pipe in for me. And I was one of 2 that they interviewed. And then they got it because of those, I got it because of those recommendations and the way, of course, the way I presented myself and everything. But so it worked that way too. So you've got all these cheerleaders all of a sudden because they know you. And the one lady I never even met in person, and she piped in for me.
That's amazing. That is really great. So, well, I love to be practical. So women listening, I'm sure this is exciting, because all those introverts out there, and you love to talk to women, other people, but we don't know what to say. So when, obviously you've gotten clients from the group, but when do you talk about what you do? Do you wait for them to ask you, or at some of these lunches, have you had an opportunity to kind of give an intro on who you are, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's always, like I said, I try to come from a position of service and being, and I generally want to meet these ladies and learn about them and see how I can help them. But it seems like it always comes around to that. Anytime, you're getting together around lunch or whatever, and you're just talking to ladies, you're talking about what you're doing. So I'm out, I had to stage a house today, or I had to do this, or went to this. And so it's just part of the natural conversation. I do also on my women's group, I don't want it to be salesy. So I don't want everybody constantly bombarding with, here's Mary Kay and here's, sales on different things. And so, but I created once a month where they can post their business. And so we can support one another and, women to women businesses and that kind of thing. And that's been phenomenal too. But that gives you the opportunity to say, hey, this is what I do.
That's awesome. So because we're both in our 50s, I know for me, I feel more confident and more like, I'm just going to go for it. Like, I'm not even hesitating. And I have to admit, I was always kind of like that, but even more so now. But we are that perfect age. So do you think that has impacted you in the way of confidence and the way you handle yourself?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think there is something magical that happens when you get to your 40s or 50s, and I'm tired of trying to be everything to everybody or be the perfect whatever. It's just, I'm just going to be me. And, you know, you kind of let go of a lot of stuff, which is nice. So yeah, and you're more comfortable in your own skin. But I will say, I think a lot of the exercises that you took us through helped me to get to that point. Because like I said, I was always comparing myself to other people. And so that was very liberating though, to let go of that and to just allow to be comfortable with who I am and be okay with that. And it's fine, you know, and people relate to that. And that comes across as you're being genuine, you're not being phony, you know, and so it allows people to get to know you, which is what, I mean, when you're doing business with people, they want to trust you and they want to, you know, be comfortable with you, and you attract the people that you enjoy working with. You know, so you're not having to take whoever just comes along or forcing, you know, a relationship that's really uncomfortable because maybe they're different personality type or different, you know, whatever from you. I think once you're comfortable with yourself, you attract people that, you know, that you relate to well.
I love
and
that.
Then you know, because then they recommend you, and nice people know nice people, you know, so it just works, you know, great.
Yeah. And so I'm curious now that you're a grandma, you want to hang out with all the family, you love being by the water, and you need that family time. So help us understand how you manage training your agents, especially now that they're 2.5 hours away, some of them, and how you still carve out family time and me time.
Yeah, I'm still working on that one. Honestly, and I'm just building myself a she shed in my backyard that's going to be my office. So I'll actually have to go to my office and come home. So
I love that.
We've always been a virtual office. We've never had a sticks and bricks office. And so that part of the business has been, I mean, I do training just like you and I are talking now. We get on video chat and that kind of thing. And what, you know, and I'll go up there and we meet together and stuff. But so that part hasn't been an issue. But it's always been an issue with me with balance, and because I like to do things until they're done. You know, I don't like things being unfinished, and so that's never, you know, you're never finished, and so I have a hard time cutting it off. But I'm working on time blocking, and I am getting into those routines, and you know, constantly especially with real estate, trying to avoid those ups and downs, and that's just where consistency comes in, and you know, and I try to focus on, you know, just meeting people and not focusing on the sales part of it, but just constantly focus on meeting people and filling up my pipeline and always having somebody somewhere in my, you know, in my pipeline. And so that kind of helps you avoid those peaks and valleys.
Okay, I'm going to ask you about follow-up, but one more thing, and then we'll close. Thank you so much for your time. This is so good. This is so good. All right. So those that are listening and are like, okay, I'm going to start a similar Facebook group and a similar women's group, or whoever your ideal client is. How did you first get the word out about this Facebook group? Was it something that you did, you know, with postcards, or was it pure word of mouth?
All on Facebook. So we had a huge community Facebook group already for the community. And so I just posted on there to invite ladies. And then all of a sudden, you know, once it started, it's like everybody just started inviting everybody. But I think the magic too was I really sensed that people were craving a civil place to connect with people, because things have gotten so divisive and so nasty on Facebook. And so they're just tired of it. And that's why I created the other community page too, because the community page that we did have was very, it was just mean, you know, it was just a lot of nastiness on there. And so, and I would want to send people to a community page when they're moving into the area. So, because it's a great community, but you'd never know it from that page. And so, and I kept hearing people saying how tired they were of it. And so I just decided to create my own. And then that's grown. You know, I've got over 7,000 in that one now. But just do something that you're comfortable with, and then just put it out there, and then have them invite people. I did contests, you know, a lot of contests and giveaways and that kind of thing, just, you know, little things. And it was interesting with when I created the business or the community one, a lot of businesses jumped on board too, because they were tired of all the nonsense, and people get on there and blast them and all that kind of stuff. And so I got that part of it too, where I wanted it to be a community Facebook page where people would be comfortable and neighborly, where you want to say hi to people when you meet in the grocery store,
Right.
and not be afraid to say something or ask for a request without getting a smart remark, So I kind of set the tone on there too, and then it just attracted people to it, and then they would share it.
That is so smart what you did, because you were listening. You were listening to those in that community group. What are they looking for? And I think what you said, women in particular, I think we crave sisterhood and community. And so that's really smart. Can you give us one quick example of a contest or a giveaway that you did to generate more interest in the group?
Yeah, it's just, at the beginning, because people, like I said, people were just craving that connection. This was with my community group. All of a sudden businesses were just jumping on board saying, okay, and I think I started out, I'll give a $25 Starbucks gift card if you invite so many people or whatever, and something super simple. Now all of a sudden I got these businesses where we'll give a $200 house cleaning. We'll give, so I was getting all these huge prizes, and it just, created a huge buzz. And so, every time we hit a milestone, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, then I would give away a prize, and it was, supporting these local businesses, giving them a shout out, and then, helping the group to grow.
That's beautiful. All right, next to this question, follow up. Follow up is where the money is. We all know that. And again, not wanting to be salesy or come off pushy, so many let that fall, and they're losing tens and maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in their career. How do you handle the follow up? What does it look like?
Yeah, it's just connecting with them. Either, of course, a lot of my stuff's through Facebook, so Facebook Messenger, and just contacting them behind the scenes, listening for people or watching for those cues when people are asking for things, or just constantly being coming from a place of service. How can I help? Whether it's real estate or related or not. But if it's in my pipeline or whatever, it's just making sure you time block for that and constantly touch base with people, because honestly, if people don't hear from you, they think you're not doing anything, or with real estate, they think you're not in the business anymore. So it's like you have to constantly let people know you're still here and you're still here to help. So I'm just always, I put it on my calendar when I have clients to always follow up once a week, or a couple months, or wherever they are in my pipeline. I'll just always tag back to them and kind of touch base.
And so you develop a process that you follow, and now it's just a matter of implementing, right?
Yeah, and being consistent. You just have to be consistent about it.
So when you call, last question on the follow up, because I really want this to hit home on the ladies that need to hear this. So do you ever in follow up call someone, maybe a buyer who's kind of fallen off the map?
Yeah, I think they do need to hear your voice. So yeah, definitely a phone call. Texting is good. A lot of people text now, especially young people. They don't like talking on the phone. So you have to kind of.
What do you want me to do on a phone? Talk on it? It's crazy.
Talk on the phone. So it just depends on the person. Like, maybe if it's an older person, I definitely call. And if it's a younger person, I might text them, or sometimes I'll call, and just touch base, or, watch for things, their birthdays. And that's the other great thing about Facebook is you're able to kind of see what's going on in their lives. And there's just natural ways of touching base. And so that's been very helpful. I always friend my clients, my past clients, and try to friend as many people as I'm comfortable. If I know I'm comfortable with them, I'll friend them. And but it's just a great way to touch base with people. I had a sale a few months ago from a lady. They were one of my very first clients 16 years ago.
Wow.
And so we had kind of touched base. I had kind of sent newsletters and things over here. I hadn't heard from them in 16 years, but I always sent things periodically, newsletters, or just a quick email or something, or a text, and check in on them. And then she just contacted me. My mom and dad are moving up here, and I want you to take care of them. So, you never know. I had 2 of those last year, as a matter of fact, from my very first clients that were that way. But I never heard from in 16 years, but just staying in touch some way and letting know you're still here and, ready to be of service.
Lori, you're extraordinary, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show. So last question always is, Tell us about an extraordinary woman in your life and what makes her extraordinary.
An extraordinary moment in my life.
At any moment,
Oh.
someone maybe in your childhood or maybe now, whatever comes to mind.
I don't know. I got 10 grandkids, so they're pretty extraordinary.
Of course. Yeah, you don't want to select one.
Yeah, it's super fun to getting to live life over again through their eyes. And it's just, yeah, that's like the payday for being a parent.
Yeah, I have yet to experience that, but I do through dance. So.
It's the best thing.
Yeah. So any one woman stand out?
Honestly, you and Jan both have been an exceptional influence on me in my life. Because like I said, it's not just professionally, but personally. You had a significant impact. Not, like I said, my husband said, sometimes I don't even know who you are, but it's like you unlocked who I was. I was there all the time, but you helped me put the puzzle pieces together, and you really did have a significant impact on my life, not just professionally, but personally. So I'm so grateful that I found you guys just by happenstance somehow. I think I was on a Facebook, something popped up or something. So
God works in mysterious ways. So
yeah.
I can't wait to meet you. And I hope it's going to be this year, and see you again. And actually, I'm an extrovert, so this past year has been insane for me. Like I'm like, one of my friends said, I feel like I kind of have PTSD, and I thought about it. And I go, oh, that's true. I feel kind of, So anyway, Lori, thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure the ladies listening are inspired by you, and anybody that is listening and feeling, oh my gosh, do I really want to do this? The question is, that is the question. Do you really want it? Because if you really do want this business, you can do extraordinary things. So Lori, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. It was good to see you.
Awesome. You too. All right, ladies, if you liked this episode, I would so appreciate it if you would take a moment and leave a rating and a review. Give me your feedback. It means the world to me. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.